Hello, welcome. My name is John McConnin. I'm an attorney and a real estate broker in San Diego, California. Today's show might be a little more San Diego centric, but over time we're going to talk mostly about California and the general real estate market overall, so the show can appeal to lots of people, hopefully. I already tried to do this once, and I had no sound for the first 20 minutes. I believe I've fixed that problem. But if I don't have any sound, please let me know in the comments. Say no sound. People did that on their own the other day. I finally realized it about 7 minutes in. Let me thank Doug and Phil, who used to work with me. He moved to Arizona. Both seem to be saying that around the same time. I think Doug was first. So today's show, I have. I want to see if I show the agenda. Okay, I'm not familiar. This is new software. I'm trying to, so I think if I hit show, here's the intro. That's what we're doing right now. This is going to work now. It's new software. I have used YouTube, Hangouts, Google Hangouts, and I was fine with that. But this Facebook, I'm demoing the software. I want to eventually, starting tomorrow, have screens on the side where I can show what's going on in the real estate market. But today I'm just testing out the software. It's the last day of my trial, and hopefully it gets better. So anyway, let's get to the first part of the show. I'm going to do a Q&A. Maybe I'll move it to the end later. But today, before we get to the real estate market, I'll just let you know, overall San Diego, since the summer, prices were going down. Different segments of the market, they were bouncing around. I'll cover that a little bit more depth in a minute, and then I'll get to where the opportunities are. But for now, since I recently got I get this question a lot. But I got a question again from this time it was, and I've sold houses for people who are, when their houses need to be fixed up, they're not in shape. They call me up and say, what can we do? We're worried about disclosures, and we want to sell the house. Frequently people want to do it as is. And this is a question for anybody in the future. Now, the comments are live now, and there's a couple of viewers, but I'm not expecting everyone to participate. But in the future, if you put a question in, I will review these comments. I'm going to get some software that was bring in the comments, and I will try to respond to them, unless the show just gets overwhelmingly large. But is a contract as is if you're using the California real estate forms? And there's the California Association of Realtor Forms, the RPA, the most recent one. Is that an as is contract? Yes, it absolutely is. I think it's somewhere between paragraph 8, 9, or 10. Next time I'll have the screens here, we'll just click on it. But I didn't do it today since I don't know how to share a screen in the intro of the free trial of the software. But oddly, most people don't understand that in California, properties are sold as is. Now, there's a caveat. If you want to take advantage of that and be protected by the fact that properties are sold as is, you have to do your disclosures to the best of your ability. You're supposed to disclose material facts. If you're aware, you're supposed to disclose them. If then you're selling that house as is. If you fail to disclose something that you knew that was material, well, then you're really not selling the house as is, because people can come back and say, you didn't tell us. But if as a seller, you live up to your disclosures, responsibilities imposed upon you by California law, then you're selling that house as is. So I'm sure realtors know this. But for the homeowners that don't, again, to say, well, why? And this happened to me. Let me tell you that about the time Phil and I was on the broadcast the other day, we're flipping our homes. We did really well on our first home. I think we were both excited. And slowly we were losing our margins. And we got to our fourth house. I think it was about our fourth. And we didn't really have much margin at all. We made a mistake or two in the purchase. We didn't get it for the price we should have. And we might have, it was in Fallbrook, and we fixed the property up really nice, but we then realized that luxury buyers were coming in for the horse markets, but our property wasn't quite flat enough to be a horse property. So we sort of over-improved the property. We didn't buy it well, and we were struggling to get out at break even. And plus, over that time, in the beginning, all the professional buyers were not out, so there was a spread. And that delta, buyers started being able to sell. The sellers were able to sell their fixer-uppers for more money. So when Phil and I were sitting on this house and we're trying to sell it, we fixed it up nice. And there was a very smart agent on the other side. She got our clients in there at a good price. And then they started chiseling us, saying, we wanted this fixed. We want this fixed. So we're not going to buy the property unless we get a $20,000 deduction for all these things we wanted to fix. And Phil, being a very experienced flipper and real estate agent who worked with me, who sold a lot of homes here and in Arizona, where he lives now. And I, being a lawyer, like, but we know the contract's as is, but it didn't do us any good because she had us over a barrel. She knew we had loans. We put in a lot of money. Every month we don't sell. We're losing $3,000 or $4,000. And they had us over the barrel, and we had to sell that home. And we either gave them the money or fixed it up. So even though it was as is and we didn't have to do it, the negotiating position we were in, we had to do it because we didn't want to spend 30 days to find a new buyer. So that's the situation for all sellers. If in an up market, if the buyers get too greedy in the seller's eyes, they can just blow them out and say, no, we're not going to do it. If the buyers aren't happy, the contract ends and you get to find a new buyer. But not everyone, that's for people who don't mind another 30 to 40 days. So there's that, the property starts off as is, but there's still a negotiation for repairs. Buyers have inspection rights. If they're not satisfied with the property, they can ask for repairs. Sellers don't have to grant it, but many times they do because they don't want to move on to the next buyer, and it's a little brinksmanship there. And I've had plenty of sellers to say, no, we're not repairing that. And then the buyer has to decide, do they want to go ahead and close the deal? But that brings it up the question, why do experienced sellers frequently say, I want it to be clear on the MLS that it's as is? And I will discuss that with them. I say, that might make people suspicious and bring down the value of the property. And sometimes sellers, especially when they're selling it's a trustee for an estate, are like, we don't care. We just want to close this. We want to get the estate closed, and we don't want to spend time hassling. We want that price up front. We want to send a clear signal to the market that we're not going to be repairing the property. And that's a very valid strategy, and we've done that. So sometimes even though the contract says as is, if you don't want to waste time, you may want to be very clear in the description saying we're selling the property as is, we're going to disclose what we know, but we're not making repairs. And you're going to get a certain type of buyer then, but you're going to get a serious buyer that will probably or hopefully close on time unless I've had it happen where they discover major, pool permitting problems or foundation cracks. And even then, even though they're professional buyers, are saying, no, not at that price. So there's always that. You have to be prepared for that ahead of time. It's important to discuss all these things with your realtor ahead of time or make yourself aware of them and then figure out your as-is strategy. But yes, the California RPA, and you got to make sure you're dealing with the most recent version of the RPA, but the California RPA says the property is being sold as is, but then it leaves up the final price to negotiations. So a seller, they can set expectations ahead of time, and there's many myriad ways to do it, but I thought everyone should be aware because I got that question again less than a week ago, and it comes up, I don't know, sometimes even a few times a month during the busy season. Okay, so now, speaking of that, we're a few months away probably from the buying and selling season in Southern California. But if you're noticing, I'm seeing some real estate signs going up. I'm seeing some open houses on the weekend in the areas I'm driving around. And that brings up what's going to happen this season. Are we going up or are we going down? What have we done? Well, in order to answer where we might be going, I think we got to see. I'm going to get a drink of water here. How am I doing for time here? This software limits me to 20 minutes, I believe. I don't even know. We're at 11 minutes, so we're good. Okay, so if you looked at San Diego, if you just go to our realtor tools and you look at San Diego prices, all properties, from about August, we've had a significant down move. And if you're looking at, I believe it was median price, the median price was lower than the median price a year ago. It was just a small amount. It might have been 1 or 2%. I'll when I have the other screen, I'll bring these charts up in a future video just to show you. However, when I looked at, like, say, Poway was chopping around. I don't think you could say it was lower for the year, but it too came down from the summer. Carlsbad, I think Carlsbad East might have been actually down a little bit, where Carlsbad West might have been chopping around. So anyway, as you go through like Vista or you look, the luxury market might be down in some of the areas. So it really depends. When you segment in on the prices, you'll see that most of the gains for 2018 that we saw in the spring, and they were pretty good, were given back in general across the median price in the fall. Now, does that mean prices are going up or down right now or in the spring? Well, every spring since really the market came back from the collapse around 2008, 2009, every spring we've seen big jumps in Southern California. And some of those big jumps are caused because the top properties go on the market for sale and people pay up for those. There would be multiple offers wars. I've had videos out there where I've shown that California Association of Realtors said 2/3 of the homes for sale at any given time were getting multiple offers about a year ago. So in the spring, the best houses would get multiple offers, or many houses got multiple offers, but the best houses would go up for sale. They'd establish a new high, and then people are like, wow, I really like that price, would put their homes on the market in the summer. But those homes weren't always as good as the ones that were in the spring. So the summer would sort of chop around, probably not establish new highs, maybe even see a little bit of a sell-off, and we'd see prices come down in the fall. So the question is, is our fall just reflecting that prices always get a little softer in the fall? Because it's that, in my opinion, it's because the houses weren't the star houses anymore. They were houses where people really liked the price that they were seeing and were hoping to get it. Or, and this in general, obviously sometimes great houses go for sale in the fall. Or are we going up in the spring? Well, I think there's a few factors to consider. One, the scary factor is that the luxury market in places like Manhattan are actually down. There are articles. Now, this is anecdotal, but they were talking to sellers that were getting 25, 30% less than when they bought their multi-million-dollar homes a year or two ago in Manhattan. And part of Manhattan's market, every market's unique, but the people explaining that were saying that a lot of luxury inventory, that's a real estate word, came on the market. So a lot of high-end condos had been developed and they were coming on the market. And they said the foreign buyers were stepping aside. Well, San Diego had, especially during that big run-up after the market collapse, the mortgage crisis, San Diego had a lot of foreign investors and it had a lot of professional investors, but they've pulled out overall the last few years. I mean the ones buying in big numbers for funds. I don't mean, we'll get to fixer-uppers if in our next segment where we discuss. I'm going to try to speed it up, right? Because I have it. And let's see. Show Q&A. Let's hide that. Let's go to show this one now. Let's catch up. Real estate prices. So that's where we are. I've got sellers and buyers. So let me cover this quickly. So I think we can, I don't know if prices are going up. I traded a long time ago. I traded for a living for about 5 or 6 years, mostly stocks, but I traded bond futures and I made a little bit of money trading them technically because the bond market actually respected technical levels more than the stock market, but I made more money trading stocks, but that's a long story. But anyway, if I knew, I'd still be trading bonds long term. If I even knew where they were going in a month, I love the bond market because it was technical. And if I knew where prices were going, I would be making those trades. Now, secondly, any professional traders you talk to, and I had a blog a long time ago called Career Day Trader. I met some of the guys in Market Wizards. I don't know if I actually know I know some of the guys in Market Wizards. I haven't talked to them in a few years because I don't trade anymore. But they didn't come out and say, hey, I know where the market's going or buy, because their time frames would be different. They would react if there were, if they weren't going to make that trade, or, they might have an idea, but they could get out if they change their minds. That's the great thing about traders. They change their minds. So they would say, hey, it looks interesting. So I'd say right now the bond market looks interesting because I think the Fed is running the show and they might be raising prices. But then they came out about a week ago and saying, well, no, we had these big sell-offs, so we're not sure. It's not guaranteed we're going to raise rates. And so anyway, I guess I'm saying if I knew, or if anybody knew, they'd be making a fortune in the bond market. So you can't really listen to the forecast. Now, some of the apologists for the market, people in the industry who really want to see housing sales, will tell you that all but the 2008 market, even in environments where interest rates are rising, and normally when the Fed starts raising interest rates, it ends in an event. There's a Goldman Sachs paper on that. That event is frequently a recession. They said even when that happens in the past, prior to the 2008 sell-off, housing prices still went up. Well, that again is local, because I specifically remember in the previous recession, a friend of my dad's put out 40 offers for houses in La Jolla, and he got 2 of them for about half price of what they were asking. So there was market softness. So it's something to be concerned about. So now for sellers, we're going to cover this in more depth. I'm pushed for time on this. So now sellers first. What should sellers do? Well, I think if you're going to sell, and I'm never saying sell just because you're timing the market, on your own, if there's a roof over your head in a place you like living, that's very valuable. So I don't say just sell because you think, the market might get soft for a while. If you have investment properties, it's something to think about. But let me just say, I was even thinking of moving up to buy. So I'm not saying you should sell. But if you sell, you should sell a really smart way right now. Now, in an up market, it was great to set up and offer a situation where you created a lot of interest, and then you said, before I put it on the MLS, or even the first week on the MLS, we're going to have a lot of showings come through the property, and we're going to be soliciting buyers. So I think you should set up an auction environment, because the strategy for selling, no matter what strategy you use, and we're going to cover all of them in future videos, no matter what strategy you use, I think, unless you're really trying to do it slowly, you want to get as many buyers, as many showings early as possible. I think it's a mistake to just play for the one buyer at a time. It's great for buyers, but it's not great. But there's nothing like buyers seeing an in-demand property with a bunch of people going through the property, feeling like they need to know, they need to get involved, they need to make a decision soon. So the pre-MLS auction, where the seller does not commit to selling to the highest offer, but they set up an auction-like environment, is a fantastic way to get 20 or 30 people through your property to sell your home. Now, again, you don't have to sell your home, but if you can do that, you're going to find out where those numbers are, what people are willing to offer at any given time. And if there's market softness, if you've got 20 or 30 people coming through your property, that's likely where the market is. Now, there's always some buyer who could come along and is willing to pay top dollar because they need to live in that house because it's near a school that they need. It's near a golf course. It's near their babysitting. It's near their family. But in general, if you get 20 or 30 people through your property, you're going to find out what the value is at that time, because you're going to get offers. Lots of realtors know that if you've got 10 showings and you don't have an offer, your property is significantly overpriced for the market at that period of time. 10 showings is it. That's what you need. You'll get offers on 10 showings if you're anywhere near the market on your price. We're going to cover this in more depth in the next lessons. Now, and there's other ways. There are other ways to stimulate top dollar offers using the MLS, but we're going to talk creating an auction environment, negotiating multiple offers properly. Like, you just don't want to send them, take 5 in right then and feel like you have to take one by Monday. Otherwise, all the other potential buyers are going to run away. You need to set it up properly ahead of time. But we'll go over that there's just an area for lots of discussions. So we covered top dollar, negotiate multiple offers, other top dollar strategies we just covered. Okay, so buyer opportunities. Now, even though I sounded a little negative on prices, I think before, my wife and I were thinking about, we saw an opportunity in the fixer-upper market. I know, because I've sold houses for the estates the last few years, that there was a massive, let me just check on my time here. You know what, I don't even see 10:30, 10:52. I don't know. I hope it's still going. The buyer market, a lot of the investors have pulled away. They were telling me they're going to Vegas, they're going to Arizona, because they were worried that when they were fixing up property, they were selling the market, they were on the market longer, and the market got soft over the summer. And I can't tell you, I have 5 or 6 investors I frequently talk to, and only one was still working in this market. My wife and I noticed in Poway, where we live, that in sort of the wine estates area, there was a fixer-upper in there that if it was fixed up, it might have been worth 1.6, and they were selling, they had it at like 1.2 at the time. And in my calculus on it was, it probably need $200,000 or $300,000 to fix it up. So at that price, we didn't really see the spread. It wasn't that motivating to us, but we wanted to buy a bigger house because we're thinking of otherwise spending a lot of money increasing the size of our house. But then I think a lot of people also sense that they dropped the price. Again, I think they dropped it down to about $1 million. And I called up the agent and I asked if they would give us 45 days to try to sell our house contingent. I wanted to buy their house contingent, sell our house, buy theirs. And he goes, no, we just dropped the price. We think it's going to sell here. And I think he was right because it didn't go under contract. So we're not going to sell contingent right now, but you can call me back in the future if nothing's happening. So he did a good job. He got the price sold. So there was an opportunity, maybe a $200,000 or $300,000 spread. So what I'm saying is if you're a buyer and you've got the cash to do it and you don't mind spending a month or two fixing up a property, a lot of the professionals have left the market, and there may be opportunities for fixer-uppers. Now, we'll talk about that more in depth in the future, but I also wanted to cover solar homes. Right now, I've worked with buyers. I recently put solar in my house and became acutely aware of this subject. Many houses, they're selling, not many, but a significant number of houses. First of all, when I was looking, North County probably is about 10% solar homes. And places as you go east, like for instance, Poway seems to hover between 15 and 25% of homes for sale have solar on them. If a buyer owns the house, owns the solar free and clear, or they have a loan that they have to pay off before they transfer the property to a new buyer, that's a tremendous opportunity for some buyers if they're not pricing. Like if you're saving $500 or $600 a month on electricity, and you can, because my house is even that big, and we have a $500, $600 bill in the summertime. It was getting covered. And then some. We were generating excess electricity in the summertime. So $500 or $600 worth of mortgage at 4 or 5%, it could be 70, 80,000. I mean, depending on how much electricity you're using, it could be a 5 or 10% discount on the amount of mortgage you can actually purchase. So it could be like a 5 or 10% discount on a home for someone who's taking out a loan. I mean, if you're saving $500 a month, that $500, $600 buys $70, $80, maybe $90,000 worth of mortgage. So I haven't really, I will cover this in more depth. I have coined the term the solar home delta, the difference to a buyer taking out a mortgage, the difference in the value of the home with the mortgage and the difference with the solar on it and the difference in the value of the home without the solar on it. And if you're saving $500 or $600 a month, that buys you a lot of mortgage. So a lot of people selling the solar are selling it as if it's an amenity. We've got solar panels. That's an amenity. And it is. It's a fantastic amenity, but it's an amenity that actually makes money for you or saves you $500, $300, $400, $500, $600, $700, depending on the solar system. Now, it's complicated. I think you need to work with a realtor that's an expert and maybe even have a team helping you evaluate things, because I know from talking about solar home expertise, I've spoken with realtors who've told me they've made mistakes representing buyers in this deal. So it's an opportunity, but a lot of brokers don't want their sellers making any sort of warranties about how much you're saving. And that can be accomplished well with a lawyer who's not afraid to use language. And for sellers, they need better representation, and buyers need realtors that are, well, I think I've gotten the point. Right now, there's a reason why solar homes are being underpriced in the market. And if you're a seller, we can help you capture some of that. And if you're a buyer, we can help you take advantage of the situation. So if you're interested in any of these things, whether it's multiple offer, seller negotiations, and whether you want more information about solar, leave it in the comments. I'll discuss it. I'll review the comments. We'll discuss it in future videos. Or if you would like to, okay, I don't really have all this laid out at winnerscheck.org right now, but if you'd like to contact me, that I do have in there. Go to winnerscheck.org. You can sign up for free for now, and I will contact you. If you'd like more information, or if you can't figure out where winnerscheck.org is, or it's changed, leave a comment on one of these subjects, and I will try to send you, I don't know, whatever Facebook will allow me to do to contact you, and we can talk further. No obligation. So thank you for listening. I may try to, I sort of enjoyed this. If I have some time this afternoon, I may talk more about multiple offers. I think I'm going to talk more about solar. But we'll figure it out. But if you leave some comments, tell me which one to do. I'll do that one. All right. Thank you. John McConnin, winnerscheck.org. Thanks for watching.